Hi, I'm Steve Ninja, and welcome back to my channel. So, a while back, I actually made a video ranking my 10 favorite live albums, and there were quite a few that I actually missed on that, and some I didn't own yet. Obviously, the obvious answer would be like putting Frampton Comes Alive on there. It's a classic album, but since I primarily do the hard rock and metal on my channel, I didn't include that on that list, or I'm not going to do it tonight either. But I actually have accumulated some new ones here that people recommended to me, and they were actually on my list already before. But some people said, really got to get this, you really got to get this. So I did that. But as far as this ranking, before I did 1 through 10, or 10 through 1. So tonight I'm going to do 20 through 11, just because I'm going to link my other video to this one in the description area. So, and actually at the end of the video, when you see the screens at the end of the video, you can click on it and see it there. But I would like to do maybe sometime do like an ultimate top 10, including some of these albums and some of the ones I had on the first one, because there are probably a few that I probably could take out of that top 10, the original one. But starting it off here, this one was kind of documents the two brothers that have both passed away. This is released in 1997, and it's a Pantera official live 101 proof. Obviously it's got the Abbott brothers, Daryl Abbott, which he's also known as Dimebag, and his brother Vinnie Paul. So this is kind of cool. Kind of documents that the band before they completely fell off the rails. And I think they did. I think this is probably like the first. It's not including anything from those first 4 albums, which I've never heard before. But it's like the first 4 with the classic kind of era of Pantera that everybody knows, because I think it's really hard to get those first 4 albums, but it's from Cowboys from Hell up to like the 4th album there in that era. And this one actually has 2 new songs on it. It's I Can't Hide and Where You Come From. So it's basically, as far as a live album is concerned, it's probably like a little over 60 minutes long. So but it's considered to be it's the first Pantera live album. And I don't know how many live albums they've had since then. This may be the only one, possibly. But Pantera was a great band back in the 90s. They kind of kept metal alive during that time period, with grunge and different industrial music and new metal, all that stuff. They kept metal, like the hardcore metal kind of going through that time. And Dimebag Darrell's one of the great guitar players. And number 19, this is actually the only punk band I have on either one of my lists. This is released in 1996. It's Filthy Lucre from Sex Pistols. So this album reunited the band with its original bass player, Glenn Matlock. He was there, and they fired him and replaced him with Sid Vicious. Obviously, if they had never had Sid Vicious in this band, who knows? They may have made it through the 80s, or punk. A lot of people consider punk to be dead by the time 1983 came along. So who knows? They probably would have gone at least up until that point, and they may have gotten 2 or 3 albums out by then. But it's they had Nevermind the Bollocks were the Sex Pistols. That was 1977. That's a classic album. I think it's, even if you're not a punk band, you can love that album. But I love this. It's Steve Jones. These guys were like in their 40s at the time, so they're still young enough to kind of make a quality album. And number 18, this is actually one of 3 albums I have from this artist in my top 20. This album was released in 1993. It's Live and Loud from Ozzy Osbourne. This is recorded from 1991 through 1992 from his, I guess it's No More Tours tour. This is supporting the No More Tears album. This is kind of great. It has Zakk Wylde on it. It's been a long time since I've heard this one, but it has all the Ozzy classics. It has some Black Sabbath on it. So I had to include this one. I left it out of my top 10 before because I had one other album, Speak of the Devil, on that list. So I had to put it on number 18 on this list. And number 17, this is actually the second album I have in my top 20 from this band. This was released in 1987. It's Priest Live. This is obviously from the Turbo Tour, which a lot of people didn't like that album all that much, but I think a lot of those songs actually kind of come alive on this album. They're a lot heavier. I don't know if the crowd noise is kind of piped in a little bit on this, but this actually has 3 bonus tracks on it. It has Screaming for Vengeance, Rock Hard, Ride Free, and has Hellbent for Leather. So that last track is the only one that's actually a carryover from the last one, Unleashed in the East. But I think a lot of these songs sound a lot better on this compared to what they are on Turbo. And number 16 is actually one of 2 albums I have from this band on this particular list. This is one I've loved since I was a kid. This was released in 1987. It's Scorpions Worldwide Live. Man, I listened to this a ton when I was a kid. It's in 1985. I was only 12 at the time, so Scorpions really appealed to me back then. They were really popular in the early 80s, and a little bit throughout the 80s, but especially the early 80s. They were really popular then with that, like Rocky Like a Hurricane, obviously big song. But I have another album, like I said, another one I'm going to mention here after this one, but I really love the way this sounds. Obviously, No One Like You was the big hit single that they drew like live footage from this concert, and I remember when I had this I had this on audio cassette when I was like a kid, but then I bought it on. I remember when CDs first came in. I bought this on CD then, and then actually they cut like 3 tracks off of it at the time. This is actually like they remastered the full. I guess the full album that was on the tape, at least. I'm sure they probably did more songs than this back then. This only has like 19 tracks, but it's the whole thing here. So as far as this, I had to get rid of that old one and get this one remastered. So I was really happy to kind of reunite with this one. I probably bought this like 3 or 4 years ago, but I always loved this album. At number 15, I have another one from Ozzy. This is Tribute from 1987. This features Randy Rhoads. It's those first 2 Ozzy albums are so classic. Randy Rhoads is so great. Ozzy's lifting him up there. This is obviously, like I said, 1987. So they released it 5 years after Randy had passed away. But definitely captures that period of time. When Randy was on fire, and it has a few. It was like 3 Black Sabbath songs on it, 3 or 4 Black Sabbath songs on it. But features all the songs from his first 2 albums, and it sounds really great. And number 14 is actually one of the newer ones, even though it's used. But somebody recommended this to me before, and I really wanted it then too. But this is from 2003. It's Russian Rio. This one's a 3-disc set. Before I had Exit Stage Left, and which I really like that album a lot. That's one I've listened to a lot. But somebody said you got to get this one because it covers all eras. It's a long album. The last 2 tracks, it says it's the board bootlegs, has Between Sun and Moon and Vital Signs, but as far as this, it's a little over like 2.5 hours. Quite a bit of material. I think it covers like 2 or 3 concerts when they played in Brazil. But I love the way it sounds. 2003 they were. I think it's a Vapor Trails tour at that time, so they were making a big comeback at that time. Sounds great though. At number 13, I bought this one brand new. This is the one that I won the last time I did my top 10, but I didn't have it at the time, and a lot of people recommended it to me. This is from 1978. It's Scorpions Tokyo Tapes. This is I'd heard for a long time how great Uli John Roth was at the time. I really liked the opening track All Night Long. I think it's a great opener, a great way to kind of hooks you in at the time. John Ross, his guitar playing is really great. He has a Jimi Hendrix kind of sound to him. I think one complaint is that he tried to do some of the singing for Scorpions back in the 70s. And in particular on this album, if you listen to Polar Nights, I think his vocals are really awful on that. But actually on disc 2, there actually is another version of that from a different show. I thought it was a little bit better on that, but I don't blame him. The fact that he left the band and Klaus Meine actually took over as a full-time vocalist. I'm really glad they made that move. That's what they did in the 80s. That's why I know Scorpions best from hearing Klaus Meine sing all their songs. So I was kind of surprised that John Roth actually sang some of their songs back then. So and he did on the albums as well. But his as far as a singer, he's not really all that great. But as far as guitar player is concerned, he actually was really great, and he's still alive now. But at number 12, people have told me how great this album is, and after listening to it 3 times, I really kind of believe them now. This is released in 1978. It's Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous. This album's really great. I think they recorded like in London. I think it's like Philadelphia and somewhere in like Toronto, I believe. This album's got some great songs on it. Jailbreak's a great opener on this. Emerald, Southbound, Rosalie has a Massacre. Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. Cowboy Song. Obviously, Boys Are Back in Town. Obviously, that classic song people have heard a million times. Warriors, Are You Ready? It's got Baby Drives Me Crazy. It's got Huey Lewis on it, which I couldn't believe that. 1978. He was popular. I think it probably late 70s when Huey Lewis and the Nudes kind of broke free and got really popular. But But you know, the Rocker. I think these are all really great songs live, and compared to like listening to a lot of these songs, you know, like the studio versions of them in the '70s, they sound much heavier on this, and the band sounded really tight. Even though I believe Brian Robertson got fired after this tour, I think he was replaced by Vinnie Moore. But it's kind of a shame that, you know, Scott Gorham, that original lineup didn't stay together. But yeah, as far as this, I think it really is a really great album. If you haven't heard this, I think you should check it out. So at number 11, I have The Who, Live at Leeds. This is released 1970. This is the album I did have before when I did my top 10. I think at the time I only listened to it like one time. I bought it like used at a Half Price Books. It was like, I think I got it for like $8 at the time. But this is the 2-disc set. It has I think they cover all of like Tommy on the second disc. And it's really great. I'm a big fan of The Who, so yeah, just to get this album, a lot of people say this is like their best live album. Some people, and you can leave in the comments if you think there's an album from The Who that's better than this. But you know, like I said, I should have put this into my top 10 before, but like I just hadn't really listened to it enough at the time. And I went with a lot of the albums that I had heard a lot since I was a kid on that top 10. But like I said, I may do like a re-ranking at some time, and this one will probably make the top 10 at that time. I can think of maybe a couple albums I could probably take out of the old top 10 and include this one in it. Well, that's it for this top 10. You know, like I said, I'm going to link my other video, the other top 10. You know, it's at 1 through 10 on that one. Just you might leave in the comments, give me some other suggestions. You might watch the other video first, because I may have already mentioned some of those albums already, but you know, give me some more suggestions. Let me know some other live albums I should check out. You know, I may actually own a few others, because I've got quite a few more. I don't know if I'll do another top 10, but obviously I'm going backwards with this. So like I said, I would really like to do like a re-ranking, and it's possible if I buy something new, I might actually include that in a new top 10, possibly if I really like it. But please put a like on this video. Please, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing, and have a good night. Thank you. Bye.